I learned very early on how to appreciate the differences between cultures and races. I remember I one of my first jobs was doing retail security, right? So one of the things that I was able to appreciate when I was stalking the shoplifters was the difference between white shoplifters and black shoplifters. Now, with white shoplifters, I knew that I was probably going to get a lot of overtime that day because uh, generally speaking, in my experience, some people might have different experience, but in my experience, it seemed that the white shoplifters were a lot more dedicated and careful to their craft. You could have some white people come in and they're going to be stealing some socks, right? Off of the clearance rack, but they would make a sting out of it. It would look like a scene out of Ocean's 11. You know what I mean? Like you would have like an Asian guy up in the ceiling who would probably be waiting for the store to close and all types of like crazy stuff. They would have the whole thing like blueprinted and laid out. And you might know when they come in what they're up to, but you're like, oh my God, these people are going to take like all week to steal these socks. I don't have time for this. I got stuff to do. I got a date later. So you'd be like, whatever. So basically, they would usually like get away with it. Maybe if you were lucky, you would catch them in the final stage of it. But a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm going to be watching this guy all day. What the fuck? You know what I mean? So it's not that everybody doesn't steal. It's just the difference in technique. So like with a lot of black shoplifters, God love them, they would just come in and be like, well, get the fucking socks, man. You know what I mean? Just go. You be seeing them. They're all shifty eyed. You're standing at the door like, here he goes again. Let's see. It would be like Denzel in The Equalizer. You check your clock, beep, like for like 59 seconds. And within that 59 seconds, my man is in the back, just throwing it in the bag. You know what I mean? I gotcha, motherfucker. I gotcha. And that's how it was. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, like I said before, everybody steals. It's just a difference. And you start to realize you become a philosopher, right? Like, why is it? That's very, very interesting. You know what I mean? Like it's a difference. Maybe some people value their time more. I don't know what it was, but it was what it was. So very early on, like I said, I understood. There's a difference. Doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just that it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting to me that in America, we still are hung up with recognizing and also appreciating the differences between us. It's like we're so focused on taking offense to things. You can acknowledge people's differences from you in a positive way as well. You can admire the way other people do things in other cultures. You can incorporate that into who you are and how you are. And sometimes that can be complimentary, but that's the trick. If you are going to do that, if you're going to appropriate something from other cultures, a lot of times the only problem I would have with it is if it's not something that is meant to be stereotypically negative, from that other culture. But time and time again, you see that people slip up where the only way they can acknowledge another culture is in a mocking way or in a derogatory way. And then you get yourself in trouble time and time and time again. And in Hollywood, it seems like there's no shortage of that because show business, especially in comedy, you make fun of everything. You make fun of everybody. And it used to be a lot easier to do that back in the day. Now it's difficult because everybody just lays in wait for the offensive. It's like it's like we've lost our ability to poke fun at one another. And I don't think that that's healthy. But let's get into the story that I want to talk to about here because it involves somebody who you may or may not find to be funny, but her name is Awkwafina. All right, not the water. I don't understand where this name comes from. I'm not like the biggest fan or knowledgeable about this person, but Awkwafina finds herself having to apologize. She's the latest in the long list of people who have to apologize, I guess primarily to the black community. It seems everyone's doing this. Thandi or Thandiwe Newton just did this last week. And I don't know, maybe this is the year, or you know what it is? It's Black History Month. That's what it is. So during Black History Month, we're going to call this the month of apologies, So everybody just line up. Sorry. Boom, boom, boom is all that we can say. Boom, boom, boom. Don't know what we did anyway. Boom, boom, boom. But sorry. I'm sorry, so everybody's just sorry, about something. But Aquafina is the one today, so we're going to talk about it, guys. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And is it appropriation, or is it acknowledgement, right? Is it something that is meant to be complimentary? Because, of course, they say flattery is the highest form of, or imitation is the highest form of flattery, is what they say, right? So is that what we're talking about here? I don't know. But let's get into this story, guys. I want to just read a little bit so you can see what's going on here. This was on page6.com, and it says, Aquafina addresses criticism over her black scent and quits Twitter. Now, I know that this is going to hurt some people that Aquafina is quitting Twitter. I know this is bound to be traumatic. There are numbers that you can call. There's help that you can get. So just know that that's available to you, okay? Those resources. After years of being called out using a black scent, which is fucking stupid to me. I don't even know what that means. Black scent. Okay, I've heard of accent, but usually accents are regional. So if you're from the South, you might have a country accent. If you're from New York, you might have a New York accent. By the way, I was born and raised in New York. I don't see myself as having much of an accent. I don't know. Maybe you guys could tell me. I don't know. I never thought I did. I talk, whatever. So anyway, after years of being called out for using a black scent, Asian American actress Aquafina, born Nora Loom, has addressed criticism of her usage of African American Vernacular English, AAVE, or AV. Once again, something that I never heard of before. These people have a million ways of coming up with explaining the reasons why black people, or trying to legitimize stereotypical black behavior. You have a name for it. Now, I wouldn't mind this so much if it wasn't like what I said. Usually this is based upon or making allowances for black, lower standards, basically, is what it is. So they come up with all of these things like, Ebonics and all of this stuff to try to explain black underachievement. That's where I have a problem, okay? If you can't teach your children how to articulate correctly in the right setting, because if you're just on the block, then you can do what you want. You can say how you want. You can have as much swag and slang as you want, right? And that, I think, is what it really is. Slang. I don't know what this AAVE, African American Vernacular English, I don't know where the fuck that comes from. Never heard of it before. Next thing you know, they'll be trying to teach it in school. Dude, it's slang. That's all it is. And when you have slang that is in a pop culture the way it is in hip hop, when you know that this is something that is consumed all around the world, I would imagine that some of that is going to get picked up by other cultures. It doesn't mean that it's appropriating. It just means that it's an influence full of a world of full of influences, is basically how I see it. Now, in a letter shared via Twitter Saturday, the 33-year-old Golden Globe winner acknowledged the historical context of the African American community in this country, writing, and in this life, linguistic acculturation or acculturation, immigrant acculturation, and the inevitable passage of globalized internet slang all play a factor in the fine line between offense and pop culture. But as a non-black POC, more like POS, I don't know what this POC stands for. Well, I guess I do. It's people of color, right? But I'm tired of this shit, man. I don't know. When do we just get to being human beings? When do we just do that primarily? Like I said, I can acknowledge that I am black. I can acknowledge that. But first and foremost, I must be human. I cannot be designated into all these different things that people check in a box, because these things mean different things to different people. So it says here, as a non-black POC, I stand by the fact that I will always listen to and work tirelessly to understand the history and context of AAVE and what is deemed appropriate or backwards toward the progress of any and every marginalized group. All right, now I know that there's somebody out there who's taking offense, because of course that's all you do. You lay in wait to take offense, even though I've been on this platform for over 5 years, and you guys know I do all types of different intellects. I do all types of what do you call it? Not intellects, but dialects. Okay, this is the rapper in me. I'm always looking to rhyme stuff, man. But that's stereotypical. But anyway, So I do all types of dialects. You guys have heard me do exaggerated gay dialects, exaggerated black dialects, exaggerated women dialects. You know, I do all of that. All right. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm weeding this way. Okay. It's all in fun. Okay. I have plenty of Asian friends. And true story, I have a very good Asian friend. Last year, I remember he came to visit. He gave me a big old hug and we had a big old good time and everything. 2 days later, I had COVID. Connection, I don't know, but I tease him about that all the time. Bruh, you hugged me. 2 days later, I had COVID. What the fuck? All right. So anyway, but I must emphasize, okay, I'll drop it, guys. I must emphasize, this is Aquafina, to mock, belittle, or be unkind in any way possible at the expense of others is simply, period, not period, my period, nature, period. It never has and never was. Many have called Awkwafina to the carpet over her perceived black scent, with one critic tweeting, "It's so fucking annoying, man, how Awkwafina was all like, I refuse to do a stereotypical Asian accent. It's disrespectful to my people," and continues to use a black scent for comedy effect. Ugh, I can't stand her. The actress and former rapper? She was a rapper? Really? I gotta look this up. See, I don't know much about Awkwafina and this so-called black accent and all of this stuff, so I gotta get myself educated with this. Apparently, she was a rapper, and but see, that's the thing about it. You got Asian rappers, all right. Oh, that whole K-pop thing. A lot of it is, to me, it came from like, you know, boy bands and, you know, and a lot of that started with New Edition. That thing from New Edition, of course, started with the Jacksons, you know, the Jackson 5 and everything. So, you know, it kind of is what it is, you know, there's always going to be influences, right? But anyway, so she believes that her speech has been heavily influenced by her surroundings with no intentions of appropriation or exploitation. My immigrant background, oh yes, I wasn't going to do that. My immigrant background allowed me to carve an American identity off of the movies and TV shows that I watched, the children I went to public school with, and my undying love and respect for hip hop. There it goes, guys. And I've said that so many times when I'm criticizing rappers for the way that we come across, because a lot of this stuff is consumed by the world. All right. So if you're in hip hop and you all like my nigga this and my nigga that, my nigga, there's somebody somewhere in Asia who's listening to that. You know what I mean? Somebody in Sweden is listening to that. And that's the way they start to perceive us. So I always talked about that, how we have to be careful about our image, you know, and how, you know, we allow ourselves to be perceived. So this, to me, is more of that. And it's always going to be about influences, right? So I wanted to talk about, like, let's see, there's a couple of things here, right? So, yeah, like I said, when you live in America, everything is about influence. So say like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when you have Carlton doing the Carlton dance, you know, it's not unusual. You know, the joke was, of course, that he was not being stereotypically black. He was being stereotypically white. And a lot of black people have to face that. You know, a lot of black people who speak, who don't speak AAVE, you know, they get accused of talking white. And there are white people who grew up, you know, just in the street or whatever, and they get criticized for having a so-called black dialect, you know, or black scent, as it turns out. You know, I know that, you know, I have a very good friend who was just talking about that, you know, the other day, where he's white, but he is being, or has been accused consistently of trying to talk black, when that's just how he is. It's just the way he talks. He's being very genuine about that, right? I don't want to say his name. We all know him, but I don't want to make him uncomfortable without his permission, right? So that's what I'm saying, guys. So you got a lot of that going on. And it's also, for example, when you have a little girl who grows up with a bunch of brothers, a lot of times her influence is going to, you know, possibly make her into a tomboy. There's a good chance she'll be a tomboy. She grew up with a bunch of boys. That's how it is. Much in the same way, if you have a little boy who grows up with a bunch of women, he could end up being effeminate. It's just how it is. You know, you see that in a lot of these, you know, black communities out here. There's no man. The man is not there for whatever reason. Maybe the mom and the dad were never in love in the first place. It was a one-night stand, you know. He's a ghetto bastard. You know, you remember that song. Oh, that's offensive too. But whatever. I come from a different time. So anyway, you get the point that I'm talking about. So Awkwafina is the latest one out here to be apologizing. Now, of course, she knows what her intentions are. I can't speak to that. You know, whatever she did in her comedy, which I never saw that. You know, I never saw it, so I can't really comment on the nature of that. Maybe I'll try to find it. But that's on her. If she wants to apologize for that, maybe she's got a reason to. But I believe that in America especially, we consider ourselves to be a melting pot. So why are we unrealistic about the ways that we will influence one another? It's not always appropriation. All right. Like you have Beyonce, for example. Beyonce looks very good with her blonde, straight hair. That's part of her image. It's part of what she does. She's a beautiful woman. Is that appropriating whiteness because she does that? Or is it just part of her influence and her beauty standard and what she wants to look like? And she looks good doing it, so why not? I feel like it's about time that we got over this, especially in America. We need to stop being so hung up on this. We know the difference, especially in the black community. We should know the difference between someone who is being hurtful and disrespectful and somebody who is an influence. I love Hall & Oates, for example. You know, Hall & Oates, they do a lot of what is called blue-eyed soul. When Daryl Hall sings, I feel that dude. You know what I'm saying? It was the same thing with, with a lot of groups out there, especially back in the day. Now it just is what it is. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Everything is just crazy with pop culture. But, yeah. So that's my opinion on it, guys. What do you think? What do you think about Awkwafina apologizing? Do you think that she needs to apologize? Are you familiar? Smokey! Damn this dog. He always waits for me to be recording to start barking. I love that puppy. But anyway, guys, what do you think? You can get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this. Should Awkwafina be apologizing? Is it overblown? Is it just something she's doing for publicity? I don't know. All of these people apologizing, to me, it's just a trend, and it's a giant virtue signaling, identity politicking load of bullshit. But that's just me. So, guys, tell me how you feel about this. Thank you for listening to this long-ass video. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Catch me on all of my other platforms, Twitter, Odyssey, Rumble. I'm everywhere, guys. Thank you once again. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.